Good afternoon. I hope the importance of talent isn't reflected by the fact that we are, or the lack of importance by the fact that I'm one of the last speakers here. Anyway, it's good to be here, and what an amazing conference. I'm absolutely blown away by the professionalism of Slush. It's incredible. So my name's Clare Johnston. I'm the founder and co-CEO of the Up Group, and we are a hybrid of a digital networking and exec search firm. So we've been privileged for the last 8 years to build the leadership teams of many of the amazing companies that are actually in the room today. Many of these logos you'll know. It's been a fantastic journey to sit with some of these founders when their companies were literally PowerPoint decks and to help them build their companies both in Europe and internationally. So I recognized when I founded the company that the digital space required a very different approach. Recruitment, executive search, in its traditional sense, was not going to work. So we set about building a global community of investors, execs, and entrepreneurs, and really put networking and events at the heart of our model. So we've actually created a brand called the Digital Masters, which is now an annual program of events, of roundtables, dinners, and now actually a large 1,000-person digital awards to celebrate the talent in Europe. And I'm delighted to say there is some amazing talent in Europe. And we're incredibly passionate at the Up Group that great people make great companies. I also am firmly of the view, as I say, that the digital space requires a very creative, problem-solving, sort of led approach. So today I'm going to share with you a few tips based on some of the kind of patterns and themes that have emerged, and hopefully this will avoid you making some similar mistakes. Okay, so the first topic, hiring fast. I'm going to sum this up by saying the word discipline. When companies take investment, they're under huge amounts of pressure to staff up, to hire those senior execs. And of course, that's critical. However, it really shouldn't be at the detriment of caliber and making the right hires. We've seen time and time again that companies have made the mistake of putting B-grade players into leadership roles, and what happens? B-grade, unfortunately, hire C-grade, and then the rest of your team follows. So for us, it's very important that you build some mechanisms and some disciplines into the process to avoid you making this risk. So one of them is about actually just having a thorough interview process. Make sure there are multiple stages. Make sure multiple stakeholders are involved. Build in mechanisms such as really robust referencing processes. It's utterly critical that you get A-grade talent into those leadership roles. I've seen it time and time again. They will attract brilliant people in the teams below them. So the first senior international hire. In this context, this is probably about European companies wanting to scale out and maybe opening their first office in the US, for example. So here I want you to put yourself in the mindset of the candidate. Think about what is important to that person who's going to be now an extension of your brand, your culture, in a remote location. They'll be thinking about, really, how committed is this business to being a truly international or global business? What will be the resources at my disposal? How will communication actually work? What will that structure look like? It is so important that companies think ahead and can be proactive in these conversations. I've just worked with the most amazing serial entrepreneur, a guy who scaled 3 businesses and exited in the US. And he's building, he's in the early stages, rather, of building what I suspect will be one of the future unicorns. It was so evident that he'd been through this process before. He was involved from the outset. He had thought about all of these things. Not only did he fly over, he flew 6 of his management team. They spent 2 days in our office meeting all the candidates, even for the first stage interviews. He was so committed, and it sent the right signals to those candidates. And as a result, he's hired a great individual. Hiring an exec from the US. Okay, so this is something that we discuss regularly. There are an increasing number of European businesses that are looking to scale up, and a kind of common conversation that we have, which is the US is filled with execs who have seen businesses at scale, and Europe less so. Now, I think that's changed dramatically, and that's probably a little unfair now, given some of the amazing companies that have emerged. But nonetheless, I think it is a fact that there is a deeper pool of talent of execs who have operated at scale in the US. We ourselves have been responsible for bringing in a number of people into Europe, and some fantastic people. But I actually also serve up a slight warning, a note of caution here. Don't go into these interview processes, these recruitment processes lightly. Hiring a US exec can take a lot of time. The conversion ratio of execs who want to make that move, who can make that move, whose families will follow them to make that move, is actually very small. So it's costly quite often. And sometimes people underestimate the importance of kind of culture fit. And sometimes actually that US exec is not the right individual for that European-based business. So just pause, think about whether that really makes sense. Looking for an A player with a C budget, I'm sure everyone who's running a startup, a growth company can relate to this point. We all want great people, and usually we can't afford them. The point is, don't compromise on the caliber, but instead be creative. Be prepared to be flexible, and you will be able to attract a great individual. For example, it may well be that you should actually hire more of an up-and-comer. So you're going to compromise on seniority and proven track record, but you're not prepared to compromise on the caliber. Or conversely, hire that senior person, broaden the role, think about other things that you can attract them with. You'll be surprised, when people are really bought into a company, they will actually be prepared to make a lot of compromises. Involving investors in a hiring process, I'm conscious of time, so I'm going to whiz through this, is fantastic, a huge value add. Quite often we bring out investors at the end of a process to really seal the deal. But don't do that when they're not fully briefed and aligned. I have seen it, unfortunately, go the other way and derail processes. So involve investors early and for the right reasons. Make sure that you're aligned and that they're fully briefed and they're sending the right messages. Ensuring culture fit. So culture fit is absolutely key. People, however, confuse culture fit with just personality fit. Would I like to go for a beer with this person? Actually, it's much more around, does this person exhibit the behaviors and the values that will set them up for success in our organization? Well, you can only judge that if you're clear on what they are, and then you need to interview against them. And also, I'm a big believer in exposing candidates to the broader both company and working environment. Really immerse themselves in that environment so you can assess that. The final point is referencing. I've already touched upon it today, but I can't stress this enough. Referencing is a critical part of any interview process. It's something that we do daily. We call it, we do both formal referencing, but we also do the soft referencing, the back channeling, getting that off-the-record view of, did this person actually do what they said? It's so important, because otherwise all you can really see is, can this person interview well? So please don't wait till the offer stage. Bring it into the process early on. It really will set you up for success. So I think I'm broadly out of time now. I hope that was useful. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of Slush.